Shadows of a Neanderthal. Chapter 1, in which the cave people ponder their existence. Chapter 1, in which the cave people ponder their existence. Cave. When I say cave people to you, what image comes to mind? Okay, so those were excellent answers. Once upon a time, there were 5 cave people. Uh-oh, we need to stop. Because 5 is a number. And numbers in literature are always symbolic. Yep. So 5 is a number. In literature, numbers are always symbolic. If you struggle with reading, it's because you're missing the symbols. Because that's where the author tells you everything. So what I want you to do is if I write it down, I want you to write it down. And then you can use that on the quiz that you're going to have. Okay? You will also use these same notes on future stories. Okay? So, I'll give you a minute to get out paper. Because in literature, where someone lives is always symbolic. And again, I will give you this one because we're just learning. Okay? But eventually you'll have to start getting the symbols yourself. In this instance, cave symbolizes limited or superficial reality. Lack of knowledge. So my question to you, why do you think the author is starting out a story with 5, okay, cave people, knowing that 5 symbolizes chaos and that cave means limited or superficial reality or lack of knowledge? What does that tell you, the reader, that this story is about? Their names were Oonga Boonga, Oogie Boogie, and Trevor. Okay, wait a minute, time out. I know, look at the names here.
Why is it just like all that in one normal name?
Right, that's questions you should be asking yourself, and they're excellent questions. Okay.
That's my nickname.
First, names are always symbolic, always. Okay, so we need to look at their names. We're going to combine Oonga and Boonga together, simply because they look so much alike. Just based on their names, how they sound, the way they're spelled, what can you tell me about Oonga and Boonga? All right, we don't actually know if it's boys or girls, and the author actually said intentionally that he did that, but he did intentionally choose this to end in A because in Spanish, females' names ends in A. Okay, and he wanted to make us think, but he actually had no male or female assigned to them. All right, let's look at Oogie and Boogie. I know.
Is it Boogie?
Boogie.
Boogie. Oh, okay, good.
Now, what can we say about Oogie and Boogie? Okay, tell me about Trevor.
All right, the smartest.
All right, they lived together in a cave. In fact, the cave people never left the cave. They stayed there day in and day out, waiting for dead bugs and dried leaves to blow in so they might have something to eat. It is disgusting, but here's a question for you. What kind of people, they're hungry. Man, I'm so hungry. I gotta wait. I need the dried leaves and the dead bugs to come to me. Man, I wish they would hurry up. What kind of people wait for their food to come to them rather than going out and getting it themselves? So, furious? Oh, curious. So here's the question for you. Our list here is pretty negative, okay? How does the author feel about people who are lazy, not dependent, afraid, slow? Based on how this was said, how does the author feel about people like that? Sympathetic. So the next question that I have for you is, today, Now, before I finish the question, please remember that you don't have to agree with your classmates, but you do have to respect the fact that everybody has the right to their own opinion. So when I ask this question, if you don't agree with someone else, you cannot be critical of their opinion. So my question to you, today, do you think that our world is this way, that people just like to wait for everything to be handed to them? So we have to be careful about judgment. That's where we're at so far. The cave people embraced this isolated lifestyle. That's because they believed the mouth of the cave was the edge of the universe. Look at that line. The mouth of the cave was the edge of the universe. What does that line really mean? Based on the symbolism of cave, that's exactly what it means, is that these people did not have the knowledge that life was any different. Okay, excellent. This situation produced some interesting existential reflections among the cave people. Oh, existential, that's one of our vocab words. Who's got it for me? It's on your paper. Someone tell me what it means. Existential means concerned with human existence. Anybody else noticing the problem here? You have these cavemen, okay, whose names are sounds, except for Trevor, okay, but yet they're sitting there talking or waiting for food to be given to them because they don't know any different, but yet they're talking about the origin of human life. That is called a paradox. And a paradox is a contradiction. You're going to notice that this entire story is full of nothing but contradictions, and it actually ties to our judgment theme. Okay. Why do you think, well, let me back up. Do you think that the conversation they're having about human existence is accurate? Yes, question?
No, statement.
Okay, go ahead.
It says they don't know they think it's the end of life if they were to go out of the cave, yet they talk about dragons and God.
Right, the contradiction. They're talking about human existence, but they have no knowledge of it because they never even faced the cave, but yet they're talking about gods and dragons. And so their life is nothing but a contradiction. Okay? Which is what the author is saying about society today, is that we are contradictions. All right, let's do some characterization here. Now, we know a lot about our characters just by the words I underlined. So we're going to do Unga first. He preached, or she preached, depending on your view. Authors are not going to come out and tell you this is what a character is like. They're going to use a word like this, preach. And they're going to make you think of something you already know to give you that. So, which profession preaches? Preachers. Not trick question. Preachers. Now, in your mind, I want you to picture a preacher. What are they like? And tell me what they're like. So what the author has done is, you know what Unga is like because of the word preach. You know what a preacher is like, and so you know what Unga is like. Now, the reason I went ahead and wrote obnoxious up here is because this is the problem with the author not coming out and say, well, this is what Unga is like. Is they are assuming that their readers all have the same background and all have the same experiences, right? For most of you, you gave pretty complimentary words about preachers. So your experience, either on TV or from personal experiences, good. But for the student who said obnoxious, then your experience was not. So the author has messed up, hasn't he? If he wants you to view Unga as a nice guy, okay? That's what you have to be careful of with literature, is, okay, the general view of society views them as this way, okay? But I am going to leave that one up there because you do have a very good point. All right, Boonga countered. What profession counters an argument? Attorneys. Oh, God love them. Depending on which side of the court you're on, you either love them or you hate them, right? Okay, so think of an attorney. Give me some characteristics of an attorney.
Smart.
Dedicated. Smart. Okay, those are excellent answers. Now think about life with these two. You've got a loud, obnoxious spiritual person who's always arguing with someone who's dedicated but smart and dependable. Their life is going crazy, aren't they? Their whole,
Chaotic.
it's so chaotic. And there's the 5 again. Okay, the chaos from our number 5 coming into play. Let's talk about Oogie. Oogie and the big mad god squishing him like a bug. Tell me what Oogie's like. Be furious. Okay. Can we blame them for being furious if somebody challenges their core beliefs?
No.
Despite their theological differences, the cave people were united on this one point. They must never leave the cave. Theological, what does theological mean? That's one of your vocab words.
Related to the I say that?
It's related to the study of religion. It's relating to the study of theology, which is religion. So they all had different beliefs, core beliefs, right? But the one thing they agreed on is they must never get knowledge. Because remember, they're not talking about a cave here. A cave symbolizes lack of knowledge, right? And so they're in agreement that no matter what happens, they can never get knowledge. That's what they agreed on. In fact, just to be safe, the cave people never even faced the mouth of the cave. The definition of face there. Is it talking about your face? No.
Is that the entrance of the cave?
It is, but in this context, the people never even face. It's talking actually about looking. Okay.
Could it also be taken as, now they said face your fear,
Yes.
never like thought about it either.
Yes, they don't want to face their fear. Okay, absolutely. They lived their entire lives with their backs turned to the entrance. They want to be safe. They want to have no knowledge because to them,
Knowledge is not safe.
knowledge is dangerous. It's not safe, and they want to stay safe. So looking at that, do you blame the cavemen for refusing to get knowledge? Right. So far at this point from our discussion, we figured out the first half of the theme is don't judge because. So what we have to do is figure out is the because part. Okay, so do you see how the theme slowly starts building? Just by asking yourself these questions. How does it apply today? That's where you find your theme, not in the literature. It's, okay, they're judging here, they're doing this. Where do I see that today? Oh, do I do that? Oh, I do. Oh, I should stop doing that. There's my theme. Okay. All right. Let's see. As you can imagine, life was pretty dull for the small clan, and their backs were always sunburned. How many of you have ever had a sunburn? Hurts, doesn't it? And the fact that theirs was really bad tells you that it was like yours, right? So what is the author saying about knowledge, or the lack of knowledge?
They don't know when to get out of the sun.
They don't know what they have, they probably just think, oh,
That's-
my back hurts.
Right, they don't know what's painful, okay? It's just their back hurts. But to us, what is the author saying to us? The lack of knowledge is what?
Hurting.
Ouch.
It's exactly what it is. And there's your second theme. Okay, very good. And I forgot to push the record button, so I'm going to read the paragraph one more time while you guys are writing that. Sometimes an animal would pass by the front of the cave, but the cave people would never see it. Instead, with their backs turned, they would only see the animal's shadow projected on the cave's back wall. And shadow is a symbol, okay, that we'll see again, meaning fear or illusion. To the cave people, these shadows were reality. So our cavemen were living a life of illusions. Thus, if a hyena came leaping by the mouth of the cave people would cower from its shadow on the back wall. Or if a butterfly drifted by, they would leap up in delight and chase its delicate, fluttering shadow. Wait a minute. They don't even face the mouth of the cave, but they know to be scared of a hyena, but not a butterfly? Why? How do they know to be scared of a hyena, but not a butterfly? Once, a crazed giraffe stomped a warthog to death just outside the cave. Nobody could figure out what the heck that was. The cave people never realized how limited their understanding of the world was. For them, it was just truth, and they were satisfied. So they're happy with little information. All right, this is the end of chapter 1. Now, chapter 1 goes really slow because there's so much to stop and look at, but it speeds up in chapters 2 and 3. Are there any questions about chapter 1? Okay. Chapter 2, in which Boogie asks a question that freaks everyone else. Every year, as springtime, I see a season. Seasons are always symbolic. What do you think spring symbolizes? New life. Now, in context of our story, there's no babies being born here. So what is the new life that's going to happen?
The caveman discovering the outside.
There's going to be a discoverance of what's outside the cave. Okay? The learning of knowledge, that's the new life. Every year, springtime rolled around, the cave people looked forward to another long, productive season in the cave, painting stick figures on the walls, eating dead bugs, and sculpting ashtrays out of clay. Yes, ashtrays. The evolving race had yet to master the art of pottery. Thus, despite their best efforts, everything they made came out looking like an ashtray. Why should that bother you right there, as a reader?
They eat ashtrays, go there?
They're making ashtrays out of clay.
Oh.
But why should this part bother you?
How are they, why do they eat ashtrays?
How can they make pottery? How do they know what an ashtray is? So with those questions, you need to ask yourself, okay, what's the author saying here about society? Our society today, because he's commenting on our world today with this. If the cavemen are really us, what is he saying about us? What are we always doing?
Jump
at this part right here. The evolving race had yet to master the art of pottery. Evolving means supposed to means gets better, right?
I mean, I think it means like,
Say that again.
I think it means like,
Yet on one soft spring morning, Boogie woke up feeling restless. Boogie bored and hungry, he said, chewing a dried magnolia leaf that had blown into the cave. Looking around the same old drab walls of the cave, Boogie casually mused. Boogie wondered what his outside cave. Oh, you weren't done writing? I'm sorry. The others stared at Boogie in shocked disbelief. No one had ever said such a thing before. Boogie tried to explain. Boogie just wondered if maybe more food outside, or maybe more water, or more room. What Boogie talking about? Asked Unga, incredulous. Plenty room here, snapped Boonga. And plenty food, added Trevor, sucking on a rock. I know, it's so gross. How are our cavemen reacting to their beliefs being questioned? But we only see what inside cave, Boogie said. What if we not see what really is? You'll see Trevor in just a minute. He is sucking on a rock. This question was very disturbing to the other cave people. They began to get angry. Boogie saying we wrong, cried Unga. Boogie lost mine, said Boonga. Boogie delusional and narcissistic, concluded Trevor, who often soothed his own insecurities by labeling others with sweeping psychotherapeutic generalities. Well, wait a minute, time out. Really? First, let's figure out what Trevor's actually saying. Vocabulary. What does delusional mean? False beliefs or false judgment. Okay. What about narcissistic? Obsessed with yourself. Yes, typically your physical appearance. And I may have misspelled that, sorry. I'm sure. What about psychotherapeutic? Anyone at home know psychotherapeutic?
Mental disorder.
Good. Now let's look at what Trevor actually said. Boogie has the false belief and is obsessed with himself, concluded Trevor, who often soothed his own unsureness by labeling others with items relating to the study of mental disorders. Does,
he thought he was above other people.
right. He does think he's above other people, and he uses vocabulary that other people don't know. But does he know what they mean either? No. That sentence does not make sense. And that's the thing about Trevor is, of all of them, which one's actually the least educated? Trevor. So Trevor is the least. But you guys also were right, because he acts this way because he doesn't have the anchor, does he? He doesn't have the twin. He's left out of everything. And so he makes up for it by making it seem like he's so smart. Boogie wants to ruin everything, accused Oogie. This could be the end of us. Oh no. Yes, take the pass. If Boogie's so curious, snarled Unga, then Boogie can just get out of cave, go out into nothing and go poof. Let mad God squish you like a bug, hissed Oogie. Get out and get breathed on by a dragon's bad breath, yelled Boonga. Trevor picked up a clay ashtray from the ground and threw it at Boogie. The others joined in, bombarding the shocked little caveman. Yes, go, they chanted. Get out. Covering his head and cowering from the bruising objects and stinging words being hurled at him, Boogie turned and faced the mouth of the cave for the first time in his life. So for the first time in his life, he's going to get knowledge. Go, the others yelled. Choking back his tears, Boogie ran away from his friends towards the mouth of the cave. And out into the bright light of the world outside. Chapter 3, in which Boogie's eyes are open to the world. Dazed from the shocking attack from the other cave people, Boogie stumbled about outside the cave until he collapsed, exhausted. For a long time, he just lay there, crying and confused. Why had his clan turned on him so suddenly and savagely? All he had done was ask some questions, which to him seemed pretty simple and legitimate. Finally, wiping the tears from his eyes, Boogie looked up. He gasped. This is what he saw. How do you think he felt? Happy, in awe, surprised. Okay. This outside world was big, bigger than Boogie could have ever imagined. He saw creatures amazing and diverse. Some he vaguely recognized from the shadows he had seen in the cave, but their shadows had only hinted at their true beauty. In awe, Boogie began to explore. Boogie had been walking and exploring for a long time when in the distance he saw what appeared to be a man sitting on the side of a hill. As he got closer, he could see that it was indeed a man, a very, very old man. Hello, my name Boogie, Boogie said, approaching the man. And I am the seer of truth and purveyor of wisdom who sits on the mountainside, the man said. Or Mike, if you prefer. Please sit. Boogie seated himself next to Mike. I see that you have come from a cave, Mike said. Welcome to the outside world. You are the first to come out. Did you bring others with you? No, Boogie alone. How you know Boogie come from cave? Your grammar is atrocious, the purveyor of wisdom said. Why don't cave people ever use their articles and pronouns? It makes me so crazy. Boogie blushed, but Mike continued. I have been waiting for the day when all cave people would again emerge from their caves and repopulate the land. Boogie was amazed. Other cave people are living in other caves? He worded his thoughts carefully, for he was now self-conscious about conjugating his verbs. Oh yes, there are many, many others, living in hundreds of caves all across this land, Mike said, staring off sadly into the distance. They never come out. They never learn. Why so many choose to live in cave when world is so much bigger out here? Asked Boogie. Settling in, Mike answered. It all began long ago. So that's the end of chapter 3. Can we add the end of our theme? Okay, we started out with